Hi, welcome to Cold Hard Complaints Off Topic. Today we're going to be talking about Pixar's latest film, COCO. So I went to see COCO on Thanksgiving weekend, and let me tell you, just right off the top here, it is amazing and definitely worth seeing. You want to know if you're going to go see this movie? You should definitely see this movie. It has everything you'd like out of a children's movie, and really movies in general. It is a beautiful film that has an emotional story about family and about your dreams and aspirations. It has interesting characters, it has an exciting environment, a crazy world to explore. It is without a doubt one of my favorite movies of the year, and it's definitely one of my favorite Pixar movies, really, ever. I don't think I've seen a Pixar movie as good as this since Toy Story 3. This movie might even top the emotionality I felt during Toy Story 3. The amount of care and feeling you get for these characters is just inspiring, and they do a fantastic job in this movie. Pixar is Pixar, and of course their animation in this is stellar as well. Some of the most fantastic animation you will ever see probably in your life. There is just so much color and vibrance to this film that is just inspirational. The movement of the camera is so deliberate, and it makes you feel so in tune with the world. You always feel like you're following the main character, Miguel, like you're seeing the world from his view. So you're seeing this world with him, you're experiencing this world with him, and it's truly incredible. Now, for those of you who don't know, COCO takes place in Mexico following the holiday Dia de los Muertos. It follows the story of a boy named Miguel who is a member of a family that hates music. They have this generational hatred of music, and there's a very good reason for it that I won't really get into here. But Miguel, he loves music. He wants to be a musician. He wants to experience and feel music. It's part of his life. It's part of his core of his being, right? So when he starts getting interested in music, his family says no, and there's this whole rigmarole that happens. Fantasy stuff goes on, and he ends up in the world of the land of the dead. And he has to meet his family, he has to explore, and there's not really a whole bunch I want to give away about this story because the trailers don't really give a whole bunch away about the story either, and you really don't need that much to know about it. All this should really take to sell you on seeing this movie is it's beautiful, it's emotional, it's funny, and it's a Pixar movie. It's a Pixar movie, and it's an actual Pixar movie. It's not Cars 3, it's not The Good Dinosaur, it's a Pixar movie. It's up there with me for movies like WALL-E, where it's just so emotional and so heartfelt that it just has to be seen. This is definitely one of Pixar's best movies in a while. The music is another part of this movie that is just so incredible. There's some great songs in here, some great feeling that they have to it. You really feel the world that you're in with the music. The music is a whole big part of the story as well, so that's a huge part, a huge aspect of it. There's a lot of great original music that have that nice Mexican sound. It has a lot of flamenco playing, gives you a nice Latin feel to it. There are some songs that are covers of older Latin songs as well. There's just this great energy with the music where you actually feel like it fits in to the world that it's shaped around. And that's something that's incredibly important that somehow movies mess up. So it's great to see this movie just hit all of its bases really well and knock it out of the park with an emotional story. Now I could keep talking about how great this movie is, and it really is something you should go out to see in the theaters because Pixar movies are definitely ones you want to see in the theaters because you have to experience how amazing they look. But I do want to talk about it, comparing it to another movie that I've talked about on this channel, and that you definitely have to have in your mind if you've seen both of these movies. It's gonna happen to you. It's this other children's movie that also focused on Dia de los Muertos, and that movie is The Book of Life. Now, if you've seen the video on my channel, you would know that I hate The Book of Life. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so bad. And watching this movie, it connects a lot of the dots of where The Book of Life missed and where COCO hit. So I don't want to make this video a whole thing of me bashing on The Book of Life to say how much better COCO is, but I am going to talk briefly about some of the things COCO did that I thought The Book of Life should have done, and I thought this way back when I had my video before I've ever seen COCO. So some of these points I'm really going to hammer home because I really believe in them. And there are also points here that kind of dawned on me as I watched COCO where I'm just like, oh my god, Book of Life should have done this. What were they thinking? Now, the first major thing with the Book of Life and COCO is the focus of the story. Now, the Book of Life story at its core is two boys fighting over a girl, but it's also about one of the boys wanting to be a musician and not a bullfighter, but it's also about one of the boys having to live up to his dead father, but it's also about the girl character not wanting to be the bride, just married off, wanting to have her own respect and own likability for her own reasons and who she is as a woman because she's incredibly smart and stuff. But it's also about the family of the guy who doesn't want to be a bullfighter and how his family thinks that he should just be a bullfighter. Why would you want to play music? Were you lame? Were you a dork? Were you a nerd? Fight a bull. What is wrong with you? But it's also about a bandito that's coming, and it's also about two gods that are having a bet on who's gonna marry a girl, because there obviously just wasn't gonna be some other guy she could have met later in her life that she could have been like, oh man, this guy's way better than those two asshole kids I met when I was a kid. So, you know. All in all, there's about 5 different conflicts in the Book of Life, and they all just kind of stack on top of each other, and none of them really feel very important. Like, they all just come up and get resolved at various times throughout the movie, and they're just kind of there. Which is very striking compared to what COCO is, because COCO is about one story, one conflict. It's about Miguel. It's about Miguel and his conflict with his family, about him loving music and wanting to be part of his life, while his family wants him to ignore it and just make shoes. Why don't you just make shoes for a living, kid? But they don't make this hatred of music one note either. They give a good reason why this family does not like music and why this family would encourage him to stay away from it. There is an actual reason, and there's depth behind why that choice was made. But having that depth, that emotional importance, is incredibly important to the story so that you can actually feel for both sides, understand where each one is coming from. In the Book of Life, I don't quite get why his family's being such a dick to him because he wants to play music. Like, cool, you fight bulls, why can't he just play music? Is it that big of a deal? You're just kind of being selfish. In COCO, though, you understand where his family's coming from, and you feel for both sides. You feel for the family hurting over what music has done to them in the past, and you feel for Miguel because he never did anything to deserve that. He wants to follow his passion, his dream. So you understand both sides of it, and that creates an actual conflict and an actual tension. Tension and conflict, those are important parts of stories, people. Now, there's also the music included in that. When you have 2 stories based upon a main character wanting to play music, it's kind of important to have great music. And as I've already mentioned, COCO has great original music, some great Spanish music. It has a lot of feeling to it that is very well thought out, and this soundtrack is just something that gets stuck in my head. Un Poco Loco is one of those songs that I just keep singing to myself when I'm at work, and there's all these great songs that are just part of the story that feel and breathe into it, and also tell stories and have emotional importance and the overall narrative that's going on. Now, the songs in the Book of Life are cheap pop covers of Mumford & Sons, except played flamenco style, so it sounds Mexican. Or like cheesy covers of You Got What I Need. There are these inane covers that just don't mean anything to anyone. Why am I having this cover? It completely takes you out of the world that they're trying to set you in. They're trying to make you feel like you're in this old Mexican world and he's playing music and he's playing songs you hear on the radio. Why? That's jarring, and it doesn't make you feel like you're actually a part of the world that they're trying to build. It takes you out of the experience. And if you didn't know, being a part of the movie experience is a good part of watching a movie and experiencing it, if you didn't know. Now, I'm going to briefly say this. I could compare the animation, but it's really not fair. It's not fair to compare any animation studio to Pixar because you're not Pixar. There's nothing you can do about it. Maybe Disney Animation Studios, you can compare those with the other ones, but not Pixar. Pixar's Pixar. Their animation is almost always going to be better than anything anyone else can pull up because they have the time, they have the resources, and they have the know-how and commitment to make it way better than the competition, and it always shows in every movie they have, which is, again, why you have to see this movie in theaters. This is a point that came to me while I was watching COCO, is that the amount of time spent in the Land of the Dead in each movie. In COCO, they spend nearly the entire movie in the Land of the Dead. Near the end of Act 1 is where they start to be in the Land of the Dead, and you're in there until the end of Act 3, near the end of the movie. And that's important because the entire world you're experiencing is something entirely foreign. You're in a world inhabited by skeletons, and you have all this crazy creatures, these vibrant spirit creatures that have this really amazing glow effect on them. I don't know what they were doing with that, but it looked so cool. Colors in this movie are so vibrant and cool. They spend a lot of time and you're experiencing this new, different, entirely original world that they're building. For the Book of Life, on the other hand, you're in the Land of the Dead as a footnote, as a tool to get to another plot point in the other 4 storylines they have going on there. The Manolo, the main character of the Book of Life, goes to the Land of the Dead. He's a skeleton. He goes and sees his skeleton family. And like that whole scene is like 5 minutes. It feels really rushed, like they're moving along here. We just got to get to other parts. Other parts of this movie are more important. Do you want to see the Land of the Dead in this Dia de los Muertos movie? Fuck you. We got to go back to the Bandito character. That's what you paid a ticket for, banditos. The Book of Life has this idea. It's like, hey, you could be in the land of the dead. It could be crazy. It could be exciting. It could be this whole world that you've never experienced before. Or, and let me tell you this, or we could go to a desert, generic Mexican town. Which one would you like to be in? I could harp on some more things with the Book of Life and COCO as a comparison piece, but I really won't do that. It's kind of a drag on COCO to compare it to the Book of Life. The COCO doesn't deserve that treatment. It's too good to bring down with trash like the Book of Life, because the Book of Life is just trash. I'm sorry, anyone who likes that movie. It's not good. It's not good at all. Now, there are a few negatives I probably should bring up about COCO, so you don't think this is just some glazed over love fest like it's a perfect movie. There are overusage of a comic relief character. I don't enjoy the dog that much. There's a dog in it that's a comic relief character. I kind of just found him annoying, but he wasn't in there a whole lot, so I didn't really get very... It didn't really bother me that much. It was just this kind of this thing. It's like, I don't really enjoy comic relief characters all that much. This one wasn't the worst, as it didn't have like a funny voice or anything. So while I didn't like it, it wasn't in there that long, so I let it go. I let it pass. And the last thing I should bring up as a negative, and it's not COCO's fault at all. It's not the makers of this movie. It is not their fault that this happened. It is Disney's fault that this happened, because in front of this movie there is a animated short feature. You might have heard about this already. It's a Frozen short. The Frozen short is 21 minutes long. 21 minutes long. 21 minutes long. How can you do a short film that's 21 minutes? What are you thinking, Disney? 21 minutes is the amount of time for a TV episode. If you take out the commercials, which, you know, most of these kids are watching shows on Netflix. They ain't seeing commercials as much as I used to. They're not used to that stuff. This is like an episode of TV for them. 21 fucking minutes for a short that wasn't even that good. This is a short where my favorite part of it was Olaf. And I don't enjoy Olaf. I hated Olaf in Frozen. He was so grating and annoying, and he's the most fun part of this to me. Like, Anna and Elsa are in this, and Anna and Elsa are just boring, dead, wooden characters that are just like, we don't have a tradition. We need a family tradition. Oh, man, remember in the movie where we were like sisters and we didn't hang out that much because of your ice powers, Elsa? Because you're an ice witch? Oh, man, we don't have traditions anymore. What are we going to do for traditions? I don't fucking care. In this fucking short. One of my favorite parts of seeing Pixar movies is the imaginative, crazy shorts they have in front of their movies. If you think of things like the fucking Umbrella one they did a little bit ago, that was really fun. There's the volcano one. The one with the volcanoes I really personally enjoyed. And they do these shorts that are always really original, really creative, and really just testing and trying out new forms of animation that they're perfecting and showing like, hey, you think this shit's crazy? We can do this. But no, they have to put an ad for Frozen at the beginning of it because Frozen's coming out in another 2 years. Frozen 2 is coming out in 2 years. Frozen 1 came out before I even moved to Seattle. How has it been that long? How does it take that long to make a sequel to a movie like Frozen? Like, what are you planning on doing? I don't know. It seems really weird. I did not enjoy it at all. It really hurt the flow of the movie. It's just 21 minutes where you're sitting there like, yeah, I want to see the new movie. Now, again, that's not the fault of COCO. You could just kind of just close your eyes and take a brief nap while that goes on. You get woken up by the beginning of COCO. So you know what? You can just ignore all that and see a fantastic movie. It's so exciting, just this feeling of wanting to watch it again. So COCO, go see it in theaters. Thank you very much for watching this video. I think I've rambled on long enough about this movie. Go see it in theaters because it is a great movie and definitely something you should go watch. So thank you very much for watching this video, and you, hey, you stay rad.